Hello there, Scorpio, and welcome to your December 2019 reading. I hope that everybody is doing really well, and this is going to be a great reading today because not only are you going to get all of the usual forecasting information, but I'm also trying to help each and every sign get through any potential blocks that they have that could somehow impede all of the wonderful energy that's coming through for 2020. As I said in my intro video a few days ago, the 2020 year is going to be important because it's foundational, and it's a number 4, so that means that it's going to be a great time to attract relationships, any sort of new business opportunities that you're trying to do, even self-improvement, anything that you can kind of see as creating cornerstones or foundations for growth and prosperity. I'm the kind of person that really likes to take each and every day as a chance to evolve, to transform, and to change. I don't wait for New Year's, and I would really encourage you to do the same. It's important to, as you listen to this reading, take some notes and figure out what it is that you want to create in the next year. And I would say equally as importantly, think about what you want to leave behind. Imagine that you're going to be walking through that portal and there's a little hanger there, and you could just put all of the problems, all of the issues, all the stuff that you've actually worked through and integrated, and just leave it in the year past, and now think about creating and forging a nice clean slate for the year ahead. That's what we're going to do today. Before we get too far into the reading, I'd like to take a moment to give a proper introduction. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and I'm so happy that you showed up today. For those of you that are brand new, I'd like to welcome you, and I'm going to give you an overview of what to expect. I'd also like to give a shout out to everybody that's been with me for the past 5 years or so. Without you, I wouldn't be here, and I just really appreciate the continued work that you're doing on yourself. So thank you so much. Now, for those new folks, let me give you a quick overview of what to expect today. I separate the reading into 3 basic parts. The first includes me just connecting with my higher self and with my intuition. This is what I call the channeled message, and what I do in that part is I will take a deck of cards, meditate over it, and I'll share with you what I'm hearing, feeling, and seeing. Then we will look at the cards and pull a full Celtic cross, and in that cross we're going to see things that are great opportunities, potential challenges, and then a lot of other things that will kind of paint the picture for what to expect in December. Now, I know there are specific areas that everybody really appreciates me covering, so I look at health, wealth, love, and destiny after that to make sure that we spotlight all of that. That's the expanded forecast. So, as you can see, this is a great overview, and I hope you enjoy what you see. If you do, please stick around until the end of the video. In addition to giving a nice brief overview, kind of encapsulating everything within about 5 minutes, and also giving you a closing word, I'll also let you know how you can contribute to the channel, because everything here is viewer supported. Ways of giving back include, of course, just liking and subscribing, joining me across social media, booking an appointment if you'd like one-on-one advice, or giving some sort of a sustaining contribution through PayPal or Patreon. I'll go into all of this at the end of the video, but right here and right now, I know that you're interested in the information for December, so let's get into your channeled message. This month, as I selected a deck of cards and I began to meditate on your sign, the imagery that came through was one of trying to find a place of belonging. I saw tumbleweed moving all around, and then eventually it kind of stuck in one spot at one time. And at that point, I wrote a lot, and I'm going to share with you how I kind of came up with this shorter message, which is you're exactly where you need to be. The longer message is you're exactly where you need to be. Failures and setbacks are not an issue if you've learned and you've grown from them. So for some of you, you might have felt perhaps kind of like that tumbleweed, like you were kind of going back and forth, trying to find a place where you could put down roots, where you belonged. And I think that we all kind of go through moments in our life where we're trying to experiment to see if this is the right job, this is the right relationship. We're kind of doing soul searching. That's a reason a lot of us are here right now. We're trying to develop what our true gifts are, what our true path is in life. So sometimes I get this feeling that, particularly when I was tuning into what the tumbleweed felt like, I know that sounds weird, but that tumbleweed symbolizes you. So I had this feeling of looking over your shoulder or wondering sort of, is it all just kind of for nothing? And that's when I got the answer from my guides and also just from myself. No, it's not for nothing. Everything that you've been doing has built up to this point. It's been a chance for you. Think of yourself kind of like a tree. With each year, the bark grows stronger, the tree is more solidified, it pushes its roots down further, it's able to weather any storm. So what you were doing was kind of moving around and trying to experience life. And so there's highs, there's lows, there's a lot of other points that you have to go through. And if you can see each of the setbacks, the failures, and the challenges as something that toughens your skin, makes you a little bit more confident and gives you some richness of character, then you're A-okay. And I feel like perhaps some of you today are perfectionists and needed to hear that I think that failure is an integral part of success. I rarely have heard of a really powerful business person or politician or world leader that has gotten there without one or two missteps. It's what you do with that misstep, with the time and the energy that you put into that really matters. So if you learn and you don't repeat it, then that was just as valuable as going to a year or two of school, right? So give yourself some credit. If you made a mistake, it's okay. Now focus on what you're going to do with the time that remains. I think that's a quote from Gandalf. But that's all that matters, is what we've gained from the lessons and what we decide to do with today's energy and today's hours. So that's my message for you. You're right where you need to be. The question, the big question for you is, where do you want to go next? Okay, that's up to you. And hopefully today I can give you some insights on how to get there. With that being said, let's go ahead and turn the camera down. I'm gonna pull out the Celtic cross. I like to remain quiet at this point because I'm also meditating as I'm looking at the cards. But afterwards, I'll pull the camera up and we'll talk about everything that I put on the table. All right, this month as we take a look at your catalyst, we're gonna have to also take a look at your crowning card. Both of them are reversed, so I'm gonna pull them in the upright position. And I want you to look at these two wildly different decks, but the very similar imagery that's interspersed on both of these. So I see a phoenix when I look at both. And I also see a similar connection between the sort of cups or watercolor or element of water and then fire. So whenever I see a tower card in reverse, it has to do with reorganization or a knowing that it's necessary for you to go in and change something in your life. And the phoenix, of course, is being able to survive despite any sort of adversity, any sort of challenges that come through, and in fact, possibly being better off because of the experience. So again, water is at the base of both of these. So there's an emotionally charged situation going on, but there's an understanding that this is going to be for the better good. The reversal is saying that I feel like some of you don't really have a way of getting out of this. So whenever a tower event starts to happen, when it started, it started. So this month is really all about change. You get a chance though to speak up. Tower reversed means that, for instance, if there's going to be a merger at the company that you're working at, you could go and talk to your boss about how you might want to see your job change. Speak up and say, I know that this is happening. How can I make sure that I'm not left out when there's a reorganization? So it's important to be an active participant in any changes going on in your life, and also to view anything that might initially seem chaotic as perhaps something that could be really productive. I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit here, and we're going to go into this in a second, but I think some of you could be having an unexpected pregnancy or some sort of a blessing. It's like a blessing in disguise. At first it panics you a little bit, but all of a sudden, I feel like this overwhelming joy. which is actually why this card was reversed. It's making sense to me. This is that feeling of elation, and it's going over the sort of thought like, wait, this isn't the right time. What I'm seeing here is in the environment, it comes through as a big excitement and change event in your life. So know that sometimes a miracle can happen or an unexpected blessing lands on your front doorstep, and it's sort of like, what am I going to do? This could also be sort of taking custody of somebody because there was a death in the family or something happened, because we have here a devil card when I'm looking at hopes and fears. So some of you might be stepping in as an advocate and you're taking on some new responsibility that scares you, but guess what? You're totally going to be able to handle this if you want to. It's always a choice, but I see that there could be a pleasant tower event. Pleasant tower events can be a pregnancy after a period of thinking like it's not going to happen. It can be graduation because you've been working really hard, finally you do it, and it kind of puts you in a place of feeling unsteady. And it can also just be a big surprise, winning the lotto, getting a job you didn't expect you were going to get, getting a happy phone call from someone sharing news that kind of is going to change everything in the family dynamic. So expect it to be possibly a really pleasant tower. You know I'm an optimist when I look at cards, and I think that the energy can go either way. So why not expect it to be good? And why not also take a surprise, and before you go into the negative, go into some of the, this is a balanced card, so you want to kind of think it through, feel it through. We even see that there's a meditative card here, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So just take a pause with whatever piece of news that you get and think, is it as bad as I think, or could it be the most amazing news that I've ever received? So you could have something that kind of rocks your world this month, but it could really change it in a positive way. One of the reasons that I think you really want to keep a positive outlook is I believe the universe has your back. And in fact, the alchemic and transformational energies of the Tower and the Phoenix are never haphazard, and they're never something to be feared. When they come through, they're really existing to help elevate and help remove. So in your life right now, there are things that need to be cast away, and these energies are showing that you're going to be okay. Particularly this shows me that you're going to be able to rise above. Just don't let the emotional component get in the way. I'm actually happy that the Tower is reversed. As I said, the Tower reverse means that you have control. You have some sort of feedback or say in what's going on. Let's go ahead now and look at each card individually, and we'll get a better picture for what's going on. At the center of the spread, we have King of Wands in reverse, and notice how this King of Wands is really planting in the staff that he's holding and not letting the storm sort of pull him away. I think for some of you, you have been kind of challenged in the past to really be stubborn and to stand up for yourself. And what's happening right now is there is a different sort of challenge to open up your mind and make peace with, in fact, perhaps even embrace the change that is about to happen. King and Queen of Wands reverse can be dangerous sometimes because they can miss an opportunity, misjudge something that's going on, or just not observe it because of the blinders that they have on. So stay open-minded. You have a great mind for business. You have just a great mind in general, but you have to sort of roll with the punches that are going on. We have the Queen of Wands right on top of this, and she's neither upright nor reverse. She's modifying this. So this is actually the way that you can be successful. If you take a moment to contrast the two different illustrations, you notice that this is all fire energy, it's all stubborn, it's all headstrong. This one is very receptive. You see her looking out at the horizon. You see the beautiful colors around her. Green showing the heart is open, blue showing communication is open, and also she's looking, she's listening, she's taking stock of what's going on. This is what you want to be: active, open, and willing to communicate. And you still have all of the same energy that this card has without blocking out maybe being able to hear what other people have to say. So be receptive. That's really the way around some of this change. We have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse in your deep past. So for some of you, you probably knew this was going to happen. Or you had an inkling that it was maybe time to make some changes with respect to work, resources, or money. Now, when I see the Wheel of Fortune, it's also a reset for like the next year. Usually there's 4 different corners. You'll see different sort of creatures in those corners, but for me, it's also a symbol of like the wheel of the year. And so I feel like many of you are ready for this change. You might have outgrown the opportunity you were in. This could also just indicate a very natural change like graduation, or again, maybe you decided to sell a house, or you opted to quit because the Tower in reverse could just be being sick of something and saying, I can't do this anymore, but maybe there's no plan for what's next. So there's just this feeling of needing to make a change, taking that leap of faith, and now there's a little bit of uneasiness or uncertainty. We'll work through that in a second. The good news is I feel like it was time, and again, with the Tower, there was really no way around that. As I look at the recent past, we have the Page of Wands here. And pages are all about delivery and receipt of messages. So there was something about this, the way that this was communicated, that perhaps was abrupt or difficult to wrap your head around. But I will say this, the fact that I saw two higher suit cards at the center and then a very low suit card in the recent past, it's showing me that there is a chance to come out of this situation better. So if you are leaving a job, you might be able to find a job at a higher level or a higher pay than what you were receiving where you're at. If you're in a relationship, you might also be able to leave with a little bit more money, or you're feeling better. There's some sort of an upgrade that's coming from what's going on. By the way, as I said earlier, this page could also be a baby coming into your life. Pages are usually girls. It can just be divine feminine energy though. And what I'm paying more attention to rather than gender, which I don't think matters so much here, is that it's wands and it's reversed. So you're gonna have a very strong willed and maybe strong-minded baby. So if you're pregnant, this is one that's gonna kick probably quite a bit, but it feels like it's strong based on what I'm seeing here. But if you are pregnant and you have the Tower card in the crowning position, you need to take some time off and take care of yourself, because that shows that you might have something like morning sickness, or your body's just going to really need a lot of kindness and TLC, tender loving care during this. And that's what we see with the Nine of Pentacles. This is good prenatal care, good diet, and spoiling yourself. You need to do that because, again, with the Tower, it just shows that your body's probably going through more than the standard pregnant woman would. So just be kind and be gentle. Let's go ahead and move through the rest of this Celtic cross, and then I'm going to revisit it because there's some messages about relationships and also states of being and where you're at in your life that I'll highlight, but we have to go through the rest of the spread because there's some very interesting cards in the near future, and also all along the right here. So the near future, we have the Two of Swords. So many of you are finding yourself in uncharted territory and perhaps second-guessing yourself. I like the cosmic nature of this Two of Swords. A lot of times you'll see someone in front of a path, you know, against a tree, blindfolded. This person is more in meditation. That's not so much a feeling of, I don't know what to do. It's more a question of, what should I do? What's next? Which is very much in alignment with what I was talking about in the channeled message. As we look in the ego, I'm starting to understand some of the motivation for the change that's going on. We have the Nine of Pentacles, which is all about growth, but also it's a sustainable card. So it's about being able to be independent, self-reliant, and not sort of being stuck in a process where you can't take care of yourself. The fact that I saw the Wheel of Fortune in reverse and now the Nine of Pentacles is in reverse is showing me that if it was a relationship, you perhaps were not receiving the support, the moral support, the love, the affection that you needed. If it's a job, you may not have been receiving the payment that you should have been deserving, you know, as far as your wages. You also may not have had the right title because we had that Page card. So there was something off with respect to the exchange of respect, of money, of resources. And what you're trying to do now is bring it in alignment, or what the universe is trying to do is say, it's time to move on. As we look at this Phoenix card, it's actually a doorway. You're going up a hill, you're going through this difficult turmoil, and you're gonna go through that door, and you're gonna be able to come through that a-okay. So I like that we have this very sort of quiet, meditative Two of Swords, and I actually approve of either the reason the universe is pushing you out or that some of you have decided to move on. Now, if you're sticking with the situation, if you're deciding to like stay in a relationship and try to work on it, or you're trying to kind of work up the ladder in a particular job that you're at, you can still do it, but make sure that you are very clear. And I think that's what we're seeing here. You have to have a plan, otherwise it can be a little bit tricky. I see the World card in the environment. So if you plan on staying at a company, for instance, there may be a need for you to travel or to relocate. That's what the world can be. And it's going to be a very different experience than what it was when you first started. So as long as you are okay with that inherent change, great. The World card on a different level has to do with expansion. So the energy of 2020 is already coming through right here. And what I think many of you are going to see, not just this year, but this is also 21. So moving into the following year, if it doesn't happen in 2020, it's going to happen in 2021. There's going to be some chance for expansion and distribution, maybe even. So if you are thinking of publishing something, selling a product, or trying to be able to make a change in the world or in your life in a very, very big way, you're on a 1 to 2 year journey for that to happen. But no matter what, I feel like change is part of this journey for you. And I do feel like there's going to be a need to travel or move. So be open to that and explore it. If you shut down that opportunity, then it becomes difficult because the world is attached to the devil. The devil sometimes can be a string attached, basically. Now this devil is in reverse, which means that, again, you should be aware of what's going on. The only thing that's kind of tricky about this is that you may be unwilling or unable at this point to kind of let go of whatever this string is or whatever this sort of shackle might be. And the interesting thing with this one is we're looking at someone that kind of has this hypnotic effect. For me, this can indicate someone that is able to kind of woo you with the way that they talk, the way that they act. There's something that you want to look behind the surface of this month, especially since we have Wheel of Fortune, World, and Tower, and Devil. So changes are going on. Be picky, be discerning, talk to everybody, and make sure that you get all of the details. I think this is a month where it's really important to have a lawyer look through any sort of documents or changes or contracts for certain that you might be signing, because I feel like there is a catch or a snag to that. We have the Seven of Swords at the final outcome here, and this is a card of communication that you don't quite trust, and also people that are not showing their true colors until it's too late. So I don't trust the energy of the Seven of Swords. It's usually something where you have to be very diligent. You want 2 or 3 sets of eyes looking at something, and I think for those of you that are choosing to stay in a situation, take a long, hard look at what you're expecting to get out of that and how you're going to negotiate this actually says boundaries at the bottom. What is it that you need to feel happy, to feel supported, and to make up for what looks like there might have been some oversights or some lack of reciprocity in your life? If you are married to someone, or if you're living with someone, or if there's someone in your life that is depending on you and you have news that you need to share, either it's a new job or you're losing your job or you're pregnant or whatever this big bombshell is, talk to them. That's what this is all about. The Devil card is a breakdown in communication. The Seven of Swords is a breakdown in communication. The World is big news. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse is a perceived loss or sort of a collapse of something. So is the Tower. But it's not as bad as it seems. That person is there. They want to be with you. Look at the couple holding hands here. So it only fails if you lack the trust. Talk to the person. That's going to be the litmus test. And if they don't support you, shame on them, and it's better that they're gone. But if they do support you, your relationship will be so much stronger. And you did it together based on honesty. And again, it's partnership, right? 50-50. You have their back sometimes, they have your back. So if you can't trust them, that's a bigger issue, and that's why this is all coming through as well. I'd like to pause for a moment and talk a little bit about relationships just using the Celtic cross. We'll be looking at love in a moment, but there's a lot of energy around relationships that I have to address. So when it comes through, I talk about love and I talk about partnerships. So we have 2 of the same suit right at the center. To me, this is the key partnership that we're really looking at. And I do feel like this partnership may have run its course. We have the Wheel of Fortune in the deep past in reverse, the Tower in reverse, in the crowning position. There were some elements of this that were kind of breaking down already for some of you. Then I see a third party coming in, the same suit, but it's really indicating sort of like somebody that's trying to either insert themselves in that situation or come between 2 people. The Devil card for me is always an indication of someone else that we don't know about or something else that we don't know about. So if you found out that there was someone that came between you and your partner, and you were the one that had to do the investigating or figure it out on your own, this really indicates probably a complete breakdown of trust in the relationship, and I don't know if it can be fixed because the World card in the environment and the Seven of Swords in the outcome just means that it's really hard to be able to see the person in the same light. So this is showing me that although it's difficult, wow, isn't it great that you finally were able to see that person for who they were before you invested any more time in that situation? And I think that's why I needed to say this. You're in exactly where you need to be right now. Even though it doesn't feel right, it's okay to have the change happening, because what looked like it was stable actually wasn't. It wasn't a waste of time. You learned a very important lesson. You're gonna be okay. I do see some financial stability and gain that can come out of this, but you're gonna have to fight a little bit to get that. For those of you in business, be very, very picky about new hires and anybody that you're allowing into the organization, particularly if they lack experience. They could make a mistake. They could perhaps be lying about some of their experience, and then that will come back and potentially bite you, and you don't want that. So do a background check, and maybe this month just hold off on any new hires. I don't think it's the best time to go through that. And that's really what I'm seeing here, is that there could be a love relationship where a third party entered in and one person discovered it. If you're the one that discovered it, again, I feel like it's very hard to go back. I'm not seeing a lot of room for reconciliation here. So do what you need to protect yourself, protect your assets, and realize that this was actually a blessing. For business, I think you can avoid some of this by just holding off on hires, by doing appropriate background checks, and by not letting someone have too loose of a leash here. It's interesting. This almost looks like a leash, that they need to be kind of closer to you. They need more training. They need a little bit more assistance. And of course, as I said, this could just be a baby or a child or a minor that you are now adopting or bringing into your family. And if that's the case, there's nothing to really worry about. You're just going to have to work through the change of what this means for your family. So that's why the tower's showing up. That's why the devil came in. It's unexpected. But I do see in this particular scenario the ability to work through it, if and only if transparency and communication exists. The devil can also indicate in your life a need to take care of something that's broken. It can be a habit. It can also be something that you're afraid of facing on your own. But the good news is we have the world touching the devil. And that tells me that you can overcome whatever that personal challenge might be for you. So whether it's an addiction, whether it's a fear or an anxiety, or even for some of you, maybe even depression, you're gonna be okay. All you have to do is reach out and ask for some help. I have another strangely specific piece of information that will resonate for some of you. If you're thinking of selling a big ticket item like a house, I want you to look at your asking price. It looks like it's a little bit too high. First, let me see. I'm going to tell you why I can see that there's a sell going on. The Tower card has to do oftentimes with relocation or not having a home base. The World card is a move. And when we look at the Wheel of Fortune, that's about a big sell, like the biggest one that we could have in tarot. So this is in the deep past. This is in your ego, or what's going on right here, right now. It's attached to the world, which shows movement. It's about 10% less than the Wheel of Fortune, or a multiple of 10 less. So take a look at your asking price and see if you can bring it down by that multiple. And I think you can make something move that hasn't moved before. And this could be difficult because if you're the buyer trying to get the seller to get to that point, they don't want to do it. If you're the seller, you seem to be wanting to wait a little bit. I feel like nothing's going to really budge. This is the time to do it, and you have to adjust your asking point a little bit or throw something in to sweeten the deal. But right now, the devil is showing that nobody wants that at that price. And the most you could kind of do is maybe shave off a couple thousand or a couple of percentage points, because we see a 7 up here. So perhaps it's like 7% instead of 10 if you're trying to push it. But I don't like the buyer that is attached to that, because the devil's attached to that. You want the world, which is better. So consider 10% difference. This also works for salary negotiations. So if you're trying to figure it out, it's again like 10% or 10. So if it was like 100,000 that you were trying to get, ask for 90,000. Or if you're looking for like $50 an hour, they may only be willing to pay 40. So you'll be able to figure that out, but there's something off. It's a 10, multiple of 10, or 10%, okay? Let's go ahead now and expand the forecast. We're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Just a reminder that health is multifaceted. It not only includes what's going on in your body, but more importantly, what's going on in your emotions and your mental state. So here we have an Archangel Michael card. It says, trusting heaven, You are safe, angels are close, surrender your concerns and allow a miracle to occur. You know, the key word that really matters to me is trust, because when I'm looking at the outcome, this card shows a lack of trust. So the most important thing you could find in your life right now is a way to get back to trusting yourself or trusting others. And if someone in your life kind of fell out because you don't trust them, hopefully now you will be able to pull in a higher frequency, and this is actually for your better good. The other thing here is that you want to find a good advocate in your life to be there to help you. So this might be, like I said, a lawyer to kind of really help walk you through some of the changes that might be going on. It could be a financial advisor. Just be picky and discerning, because we still have some of those communication cards that can show that people may not show all of their true colors. But I think you'll be able to learn from any of the past experiences and be okay this time. I really love that it says allow a miracle to occur. This is really shifting from that place of the fear that we see here and thinking, nah, I've got this. I know what to do now. I'm gonna be able to walk through this, walk through the fire, come out stronger, and I will now be able to know that I'm not gonna make this mistake again. And give yourself some time, some credit, some support. Don't be so hard on yourself if something like that's going on. The other thing here is just to trust your intuition when I see trust coming through. So if you feel like you need to do something this month, don't second guess it. I think it's a really important time to take care of things. The biggest thing that I see here is change. So many of you might be deciding to change your habits for the better. Walk away from something in your health that doesn't work, or in a sort of toxic environment around you that you just don't want to be in anymore. So I wholeheartedly support that. I think change is good. I think you should trust making that change. And this is going to, again, make January so much better. You've got a lot of stuff to kind of parse through this month, but that's why I was excited to read for every sign, especially yours. And I hope that I'm helping you kind of figure out what to do with that. Looking at wealth, trust yourself, make really smart choices this month. And, you know, we did see the 9 of Pentacles here in the ego. So if you can negotiate it, if you can land on that number that feels good if you're trying to sell something, I feel like that's great. If you have to get out of a relationship or a job, fight for severance, fight for alimony, fight for your share of that partnership, because it's called partnership for a reason. You put energy into it. You should get something out of it if you go. Also, ask for help. Go to someone that you trust. Find an advisor. With respect to anything big, particularly you know, forming a business, dissolving a business, getting into a marriage, or getting out of. If you're going to be entering into a contract of marriage, you absolutely want a prenuptial based on the cards that I'm seeing, because there's a lot of things that are question marks to me. All right, looking now at love, we have Gates of Triumph. I really think this is about what's on the other side, because if you look closely at the Tower card at the top, like I said, it's actually sort of like a stairway or a hill that's leading to this point here, which is walking through a door. And right here, we have that doorway showing success, triumph, happiness. You've got to get through this month, which is a little bit tricky for some of you. But at the very top of the hill, this is what we have, feeling like I'm free, it's okay. And so for many of you, it's a feeling of walking away from someone or something, but knowing that that independence is going to be sweet, that you're going to have better things on the horizon. And I feel like this is what the Queen of Wands is looking at. It's like, finally now I can get a clearer vision of what's going on in my life. With respect to relationships, I broke it down already, all the different scenarios that could be coming through, but I'm going to summarize in 3 major areas, which I know helps. If you are single and happy, I think that's actually good this month, because there's a lot to sort through with respect to, are you happy with where you're living? Are you happy with where you're working? Those 2 areas really should be where you're putting all of your energy. If you are single and looking, I think you should wait this month. I really think that what we see here with the 2 of Swords is there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So take your time, really get to know someone. If you happen to meet someone new, then, you know, this is a month for courtship. Go on a lot of dates, meet their friends, ask them a lot of questions. The way to kind of counteract the energy of the 7 of Swords or the Devil is to be transparent. Really talk about what you want, your desires, your hopes, your fears, and what turnoffs are for you as well. And if that person kind of gives you a weird look, your radar will go off and you'll know that's why you had to talk about that. So take your time this month. If you're in a relationship, then it goes down to the core piece of any relationship, which is, do I trust you? And I think having open communication is going to be really important. Is there something you feel like you need help with? Are you worried about something that your partner is doing? Don't be afraid to talk. I think that when the communication breaks down, that's a surefire sign of no returns with relationships. So keep talking, stay open. Remember that the stubborn energy of the King of Wands won't solve it, but this sort of softer energy that we see here with the Queen of Wands is the way to kind of get through. Listen, hope, and express yourself with your partner, and hopefully that will be enough. But if it's not, it's okay. All of this transformation is opening up a clean slate so that you can meet better people, be in a better position, maybe be in a better house, better job, all of that next year. So some of you might be kind of moving through all of this. Some of you, it might be one. Some of you might just be anticipating the change. And I'm saying this month, go ahead and start looking into all of this so that you're not taken by surprise. We have a really interesting card here in Destiny. It's listening. We have this gentle giant here, the elephant. For me, an elephant is about overcoming obstacles. This is Ganesha, just a different version of Ganesha. And it's saying, listen to what's going on. Listen to your intuition, to your heart. There's something wonderful on the horizon. In the environment, we have the world, which is expansion. We have the devil reverse, which is all of that negativity falling away. And we have an opportunity for growth, change, and transformation. So this is fine. You're going to be in a better place after this month has kind of shifted out than when you started it. On some levels, it's kind of like a cleanup from retrograde. I feel like there's still some things kind of coming through this month, but you will be fine, and that's what this is showing you. You can handle anything coming your way. We have a couple of phoenixes and we have Ganesha. So take the good pieces of what I talked about today and don't be afraid of any of the things that are falling away. Everything is a blessing, back to what I said way back at the beginning. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn the camera down and review everything that we talked about, and then I'll leave you with your closing message. Your channeled message this month is you're exactly where you need to be, even if it feels like everything is shifting around out of control. I wrote in the extended version that setbacks, failures, or any challenges, they're really not bad at all if you're learning from them. In fact, you called them in for a reason. So as we saw here, even with this Queen card, if you can look past what's right in front of you, you might be able to see what it's leading you to. This is really about activating your intuition. Before we jump to that, I want to talk a little bit about the catalyst. The card was reversed, but it nonetheless is a Phoenix card, just like the Tower. So all of the events that are coming through are really here to help strengthen you. And again, when you're in that upright position, looking at the future, you realize you're going to be able to get through this. But there are some emotional pieces this month that could make it harder to kind of keep your head on straight. And that's really what this is about. Don't feel like you're getting pulled down by emotions. Just try to stay above water and realize that you're going to come through this situation feeling better, being better than you were before it. At the center, we have a relationship at its core here, the King and Queen of Wands. So whether it's a friendship or a love relationship or a business partnership, many of you are experiencing a test going on here. If you succeed, it could grow. We have the world. You're going to go to new levels. If communication breaks down, it could be something that falls apart. Some of you may just be experiencing an unexpected expansion, a new baby, a new partner, a new hire. Whatever the case is, growth and change are requisite. They're part of this whole experience. Let's look at it one by one. King of Wands in reverse, keep an open mind. Queen of Wands, crossing this, showing the added benefit of, again, looking past the current situation and seeing the bigger roadmap in front of you. Keeping open communication and an open heart as well. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse, it's time to fight for reciprocity in your life. If you haven't done that, that's what could be calling in the Tower event for many of you. And I see you benefiting from this change. If you decide to step out of a job or to fight for a higher position or just to be seen, you could end up getting a better amount of pay or perhaps a better title as a result. Work on your communication skills this month overall. When we have the page in reverse, it's saying active listening, which we also saw in the Destiny card, is going to be really key, not just to your relationships, but also to making sure that you don't miss some sort of an opportunity. The Tower is not as bad as it seems. The Tower reverse is actually an opportunity to grow. It could be a happy Tower, as I said earlier, an unexpected blessing, but it could come through and surprise you, and if you don't react in a way that's favorable, then you might lose that opportunity. So always expect that you're going to be able to manage these changes with a sense of aplomb, with a sense of control. You're going to be okay. The Two of Swords here, showing that really just pausing and taking your time is the key to success overall this month. Take care of yourself. Nine of Pentacles. Whether you're pregnant, whether you're fighting for equality in pay, or whether you're just making sure that the investment that you've put into relationships and partnerships this month is coming back to you. You deserve it. It's okay. The World card showing that moving, traveling, or expansion is the ultimate goal of everything in front of us. So don't fight that. That's why the Devil's attached to it. If you fight the expansion, the movement, or the growth, then that's when things start to kind of crumble. If you can embrace it, then you actually could come out better than expected and better than you may think even possible. So expect the best and try to kind of be like a young tree and bend with the wind. The Devil card attached to the Seven of Swords. The only thing that's going to break a relationship is a breakdown in communication. If something unexpected is happening, a loss of a job, a baby that's coming in, some sort of unexpected family crisis or event, all you have to do is stay open and talk to that person and trust that person. If you do that, look at this. This is probably the nicest Seven of Swords I've ever seen. We see people holding hands and really kind of staying together through adversity. You can do that. You can actually overcome the Devil card because on either side of it, we see a cooperative Seven of Swords, which is very atypical, and we have the World card here. So you can overcome whatever this is. And really, it's someone trying to spin a web, but you can see through that because it's in the illusion space. It's in hopes, fears, and opportunities. So because it's in hopes and fears, you can see it for what it is, either through your intuitive abilities or through open communication. In the expanded forecast, in health, trust is key. Trust is key to a healthy relationship, to your overall health, and you have to listen to what's going on in your mind, body, and spirit. So if there's anything out of sorts, get the help that you need, especially with the Tower card in the crowning position. I didn't have a chance to uncover that because we've been talking about so many different pieces. This is really actually one of the deepest readings I've had to go into. There's multiple layers here. I feel like I have a wide audience for this reading this month because there's so many layers. But the Tower says that you need to take better care of yourself. The Devil has to do with habits in your life that may not make sense. Some of that could be toxic relationships or habits that you know that you need to deal with, but you just haven't taken the time to face. So face your fears, work together, and make sure that your mind, body, and spirit are in proper order, working order this month. Because without health, everything else doesn't matter. I really think that that's the most important thing. Ask a key advisor for help when it comes to money this month, especially if you feel like you're getting bad advice. Get a second opinion. I think that's very smart. As we look at the relationship or the love card this month, it basically shows me that success is within reach. And whatever you decide to do, stay, leave, it's going to be for the best. This is your decision, but the card is supporting whatever that decision may be. I think that with communication, and as this card says, proper boundaries, you can overcome the Devil energy that came through. Even if there was some sort of deception, it really has to do with how you handle the communication. So active listening, active communication, honesty and transparency, that'll help you get through the successful transformation in the relationship, and hopefully you'll be stronger for the experience. Finally, listen to your heart, your soul, your intuition, and listen, of course, to your partner as well, or any friends in your life. This is really about being able to overcome all of the sort of challenges in your life by being more aware, more present, and listening. So that brings your monthly reading to a close, and before we actually get into how you can give back, I want to jump straight to the closing word. I'm going to do it in reverse, just because there was so much to unpackage this month. I want to focus again on the transformative and really positive energy that can come through a tower in your life, a tower event. So again, towers typically come through when it's important, and if not vital, for us to make some changes. It's oftentimes for our well-being, sometimes even for our financial security, and that's what I'm seeing here, is that there was something that needed to be brought into balance. It could also be so that we can move into a healthier situation. The World card can be taking you out of a toxic situation and into something where you can thrive, whether it's an apartment complex or a school or a work environment or a family. It feels like there's a chance to take what you had and transform it, or move into something different, altogether different actually. And what's important is to try to go with the flow, not to fight things too much this month. Listen, be aware of what challenge is in front of you, but look beyond the challenge. See the greater good, see the greater outcome to this, and that will be what makes the difference between feeling overwhelmed and getting anxious and kind of giving into some of the energy that we would see in this Devil card, and really coming through and thinking, you know what, I'm actually going to end up feeling better, being better, and possibly, finding new things that I never would have imagined if I didn't embrace the change in front of me. So I think that you have a really great opportunity on the horizon. The question for you is actually twofold. The first piece is, are you ready to do that? Are you willing to do that? And the second piece is, what do you really see for yourself in the long run? Because I think that part of the reason that some of the changes are going on was desire or a need for you to listen a little bit more to your heart, to your soul, to what you really want to do. What's your life purpose? What's the sort of indelible mark that you want to leave on the planet? I bring this up sometimes when I have the monthly readings or a one-on-one. For you, it's definitely coming through, because if you're going to go through the transformative energy of the Tower, the World, the Devil, all of the things that I see in front of me, then why not really make a significant change? And speaking from experience, like when I left my corporate job, it felt a lot like what I'm seeing in front of me, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. There was a big unknown. In fact, I didn't have all of the pieces sort of figured out. I just knew that I had to do it. I knew it on an intellectual level, on a spiritual level, and also just on a health level. I had to make that change to be healthy, to be happy, and to be successful. So I want you to start to pay attention to what may be obvious sometimes. You know what you have to do, but it feels like you might have swept some things under the rug. This month, you get a chance to really acknowledge, no, I have to make these changes now. And you want to do this before something else comes through. It's in the crowning position. You don't necessarily want that in the outcome. You can still affect things. It was reversed, it's crowning, you get choices, and it all sort of comes back to you. If you're willing to go with these changes, I feel like this could be a very powerful month, and you could change your trajectory, not just for the next month or the next year, but maybe for the next half decade. I know that's what happened for me. It's been 5 years this January since I quit my corporate job, and I wouldn't take back one moment of it. So was it crazy? Was it everything and more than I expected? Yes, and I think it was totally worth the risk and totally worth the ride. So I just want to remind you, towers can be invigorating, they can be amazing, and I think that as long as you have someone that you can lean on, and as long as you trust your intuition, your gut, and you're open with your friends, with your family, with your partner, you're going to be okay, all right? That is the sum of everything that I wanted to talk about this month. But if you liked what you saw here and you'd like to give back, let me break down how that can happen. First of all, if you want to talk a little bit more about whatever this tower event is in your life, you can actually schedule an appointment with me. If you click on the first card or the first link below the video, then you can check out rates and availability and schedule an appointment from doing that. If you'd just like to say thank you and give back via like PayPal or a contribution, you can click on the second card or the second link. This will take you to a page on my site that walks through all the different patron opportunities. And I just want to say thanks in advance. Those small contributions go a big way into not just giving me the resources I need to buy new supplies, but also setting up the time I need to do the videos. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Whether you did it in the past or you're going to do it today, it really makes a big impact. And finally, a very easy way to support the channel just involves a few taps or clicks, and that's of course by liking and subscribing if you haven't already done that, or you can click the third card or third link. This will connect you to all my social media networks. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I also have a newsletter, and If you join me there and then also share what you see across your social media networks, not only will it help the channel, but it also helps me accomplish what I'm trying to do here. I put a lot of time and energy into these videos, and it's not just so that the channel will grow, it's actually so I can help everyone out there. So when you share this, it helps me reach people that need free resources. It also helps me bring metaphysics and tarot to the mainstream, something that I'd like to do, and just really have smart communications about spirituality. I think we need to normalize this a bit. So whenever you share it, you help with that goal, and I really do appreciate that. So as I said, I kind of did the reverse. I wanted to leave you with the closing word first and then talk about how you could give back. So at this point, I would simply like to wish you a very happy holiday season. I think that December can be a really profound month, a lot of changes coming through, releasing some old patterns that don't suit you, and I hope that by doing this, 2020 is amazing. So work through the difficulties this month and have a wonderful 2020. In the meantime, I'm sending you love and light. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Again, have a happy new year.